Okay, hi everyone. In this video I'm wanting to go over a question which I get a lot of the time from a lot of people, which is how do you price for your photography? And a lot of people ask me that because whenever they've asked a professional or whenever they've asked somebody who is already in the business, they usually get a bit of a crap answer. It's usually something like, oh well, how long's a piece of string? Which isn't really helpful for anyone. But the reason why a lot of the time the answers are a bit rubbish is because it's really difficult to tell somebody how much they should charge for a job, because it can be so variable. And I was writing down all the different things that you've got to take into consideration, and from like an A, B, C, D, E, F, and it actually went from an A to Q level of things which you've got to remember whenever you are pricing for a job. Most of the time you can ignore all 90% of this, but you might need one or two of the things. So what to do is get a pen and a piece of paper, start writing this down, or watch this video loads of times until you've memorized it, because there's quite a few things which you need to consider whenever you're pricing for a photography job. So starting with A is the location. Are you going to have to pay for the location? Are you going to have to find the location? Are you going to have to make sure that nobody else is there? Are you going to need maybe a security guard for the location? Are you going to have to pay someone to make sure that you don't get hassled? Are you going to, like, maybe it's on a field? Do you have to pay the farmer, say, look, can we get on? Do you need also payment for parking at the location? So you've got to factor all of that into the part of your bill. So that's A. B, models. Are you getting the models? Are the models being given to you? If they're being given to you, then you don't need to charge for that. But if you know enough models and you've said, look, I can get the models that you need for this, you've got to factor that in. So they'll obviously be charging, say maybe £60 for the day, anywhere between £60 to £300 for a model during a day. And then obviously whatever they charge, you add on a little bit extra, maybe like £10 if it's a £60 person, or £100 if it's a £300 person. Because you've had to do all the phone calls and organising, make sure that they get there in the day. If you want more than one model, then you've got to just add on extra costs. And with the models, you really got to think about how many they're wanting and the level of modelling ability that they need. Do they need to be models which you can just say, right, let's take some photos, and they can bang out pose after pose after pose? Or is it somebody that, let's just get a beginner in and just do as many shots as you want until we get a good shot? C is hair and makeup. Are you having to organise a makeup specialist or a hairstylist? Maybe it can be the same person, but they will also be charging as well. So maybe you will want to add on the fact that you've been organising getting the hair and makeup person. So this is where it's good. If you've got a lot of contacts that can do all this for you, then that's great, because you can make a little bit of profit off each of these people. And they'll obviously be quite happy because they'll be getting some work and some paid work from you. D, fashion and clothes. Are you actually expected to supply some of the clothing, some of the accessories, some of what they're meant to be wearing? I know quite a lot of photographers who have got wardrobes of female clothes. Why? Well, it's a lot of the times that they've been asked to do a photo shoot. Can we get a model in a restaurant looking nice and happy? Model comes along in some jeans. We're like, oh, not quite what we're looking for. Hold on, I'll get my outfit. So maybe the photographer has to supply some of the clothing, which hopefully you wouldn't have to. But if you do, factor that into your prices. E, photographic equipment. As a photographer, some of your stuff will cost an absolute fortune. And what I would say a good rough estimate to how to charge is how much would it cost you if you were having to rent that equipment for the day. For example, if I were to rent a Nikon D700, that's around about £100 a day to rent that. So if I'm having to rent that, I would charge £120 because I have to go and get the camera, I have to be a professional with the camera, I have to go and deliver the camera back at the end, and organise all the payment and all that. So again, that's something else that you should factor into your costs. And along with the photography equipment is a lighting equipment. They may have a lighting assistant, but at the same time, are you expected to bring all the lights? Are you meant to be using natural lights? Or are you wanting to just use your flash strobes? Or if they're wanting huge amounts of lights, well, how much would it cost to rent it? Add that on to the price. And with all that, you're going to need an assistant. So if you're expected all that, you're going to have to charge for an assistant, even if it's just to help you get all the stuff there, because you've got to think about the transport and the logistical points of being able to get all the stuff in your car or in your van. Maybe you have to rent a van to get it there. So that's another thing you should add on to the price. F is, are you expected to be the artistic director? Some people will say, look, I know exactly what I want you to get, can you just get that? And you go, absolutely fine, I can sort that out. But some companies might just say, what do you think we should do? And then you've effectively got to sit down, be a creative genius, and think of the ideas that they are wanting to get, or what would portray the ideas that they've got in their heads. Or, at the same time, if you are working underneath a creative director, do you like that person? Are they easy to get on with? If they're pretty difficult, sometimes you might just want to add a little bit more price, so you're not having to deal with somebody that you hate and you're not getting paid enough for it. On top of all that, you've got transport costs, getting everything there, you, yourself, the models, maybe you have to arrange for the models, so transport is another major cost that you've got to factor in. J, this is probably the most important one. This is what everyone will start their prices on, and that is J. This is probably the most important one. This is what everyone will start their prices on, and that is the time of the shoot. How long are you expected to shoot for? Do you price per hour? For example, some people, maybe if you're just starting out, you might price yourself at the same per hour rate as working in a restaurant, say £7 an hour kind of thing. But then if you're pretty good with your camera and you've got this good equipment, then maybe you want to charge maybe what a tennis coach would charge, which might be £20 an hour. Or if you're a little bit better, you might want to charge what an accountant charges, which is around about £120 an hour. But that's really up to yourself, and that's what you think that your time and skill is valued at. K is transporting everything away, so that's just still more transport stuff. Now L is where we get onto the selection and edit of your photos. Are you just take all the photos in JPEG, give it to the person and say, there you go, do what you want with them? Or are you meant to take the 300, 400 photos, then edit them down to 20 photos and just make sure that you're happy with those? Are you then meant to just do a little bit of editing, so you're increasing contrast, increasing saturation, you know, minor things like that? That also takes a lot of time, so you've got to add that into your costs. Maybe that'll take you an extra 3 hours on top of your actual shoot, which may have lasted 5 hours. So you should effectively bill for an 8-hour job. M is, one thing you should kind of factor in is your equipment. Your laptop, your editing software. You know, a laptop costs about £1,000, Adobe Lightroom costs about £300, Photoshop costs about £600. You know, that doesn't come for free. You've got to think that you've got to somehow pay that back somehow. You know, that editing software and that computer should come slightly into your price factor. And then M is where we're on N, the level of image editing or manipulation that is required. Some people will ask you to select and edit, get the contrast right and everything, and then send it off to someone else who will then do the finest editing, maybe on skin and get rid of wrinkles and all that kind of stuff. And they effectively, if you know somebody that can do that, you can add that to the price that whatever they might charge. They might charge £50 a day, they might charge £1,000 a day. It depends on the level of editing that's required for the photos. Maybe it's just changing the background, maybe it's changing hair colours, maybe it's making somebody fatter, thinner, slimmer, you know, all that kind of thing. So you've got to add in the time and the experience or expertise, and also the number of images that you're going to have to do that amount of editing to into your final cost. O is the delivery of the images. Are you doing it over the internet? Well, you've got to pay for your internet. Are you doing it over the internet? Are you going and meeting the person? So you've got to then another transport costs of petrol and parking and all that. Are you doing it through the postal costs? Add that on top of your. P is copyright. For some magazines, they might want all the copyright for it. Then I'd probably say don't do that, because then it's a bit crap. But you can charge for the level of copyright that the company or the person wants to have over your images. If they want to use it in every single magazine, you charge a lot of money. If they just want to use it for that one magazine, it's not as much, but then they may have to ask you again if they want to use it for a different magazine or a different month. And then Q is one which you should factor into your business, is the potential of repeat business. Do you think you'll get more work for them if you give them a slightly cheaper job? Or do you think you know, if you give them a slight discount, well, they go, great, we'll give you a lot more work. And then you go, well, I give you a discount the first time, but my prices have gone up the second. And also, can they promote you? Can they help you be seen by more people? So maybe if it's a massive newspaper, massive company, you might just kind of go, hey, there's some images, make sure you put my website and my email address on that. And if it's produced all over the country, then you kind of go, hey, I'm in that magazine, got in there for free, and now I've got loads of people coming onto my website and checking my images. So that's another thing that you've got to really factor into your costs for a photo shoot. The two main ones are the time it takes you to shoot, the time it takes you to edit, and potential repeat business and how well you get on with the people. All the other ones are minor factors which you should probably only be considering once you're at the real pro level. So, when anybody asks, how much do you price for a photo shoot? Start going through that list of A to Q, and then you'll be somewhere near the price that you should give. Okay, and the last thing to bring to all your attention for if you're trying to price for your photography job is to sometimes just ask the person what their budget is. So some people might say, Dom, we've got a budget, it's £100. I go, okay, fine. So then I know A, how long I should be telling them that I'm going to hang around at the place, or I should know how much time I should be spending on the post-production, the editing, and how many pictures I should be delivering. If it's a company which is new to you and you haven't done anything with them before, and they say, Dom, how much does it cost to shoot this gin bottle? I would quite happily go back to them and just say, well, how much is your budget? Because effectively I can do it for £20, but I can also do it for £500. It all depends on what their budget is and how much they want from me as a photographer. So never be afraid to ask somebody, well, how much do you want to spend? Because as a photographer, you are an elastic quality that can be a very cheap job or a very in-depth job, or you have to get other people to do the other in-depth parts for you, and which you can charge for. So that's the last bit of information. That'd be MNOPQR part of the how to price your job in photography. Hope that's helped a little bit there. Can't think of anything else. Okay, cheers, bye.